I was flying out of uh, Biak Island. I had moved from New Guinea Islands to Biak Island, and I the, the leading ace of World War II of the United States was Colonel Bong, who was flying P-38s and had about around, I don't know exact number, was around 40 kills. And I'm still flying Grace P-40, the first fighter that we started out with the Flying Tigers. And he also was scheduled to go set over an air base way up in the sky where his uh, engine was equipped for altitude. Mine was not. And he would dive down and get zeros and bombers and semi-bombers and transport planes. And he'd be on them before they even knew he was there because he dove for so high altitude. But he also was a loser of the most wingmen of the entire war. So when he was a wingman that would come in after him, they were now prepared for him. And they shot a lot of them down. So he was appraised great for his ace. And also with us pilots, we also looked upon him as a loser of more wingmen than anybody. And I happen to have a record of never losing a wingman. I lost a wingman other than not flying with me, and I think that's the reason he was killed. But I never lost one if he followed my orders. So this time I was over Bayak, and I was scheduled to fly, and I took off with my P-40, and he took off with 4 P-38s. Of course, he was famous, and I was not famous for anything other than I thought I was a greater ace than him, and I was a first lieutenant. But everybody that flew with me and everybody that I did the scheduling, I didn't have the rank, but I had the knowledge, and so I didn't insist on promotions. I love flying and I love competition. So I took off, and he took off from P-38s at Bayak Island with his wingmen, 4 of them, took off with him, and we got up over the bay of Bayak, and they got up about 10,000 feet, and I'm sitting down there about 6,000 feet, just daydreaming. Yeah, but here he comes diving down at me. And, I figured I'm the greatest ace that ever hit the earth. So I loved it that he would try to me on the, I don't care if he's 15 P-38s. I was ready to fight anybody that wanted to compete with me. I'm a bragger. Don't take the ring wrong, but I have the ability also to be truthful with my ability. That's the way I felt, and that's the reason I lived, because I was right. And here comes this P-38 diving down from 10 to 6 at this little single P-40 with 3 other P-38s right behind him, diving down at this little P-40. That's the way it looked to him, but he was mistaken. He was diving at the the greatest pilot that ever hit the earth, I thought. And so I turned under him in his dive, which made him keep going steeper dive. The more I turned in, then I was turning up under him and up above, which was coming under him, and he had to turn away because he'd be upside down if he kept following me. And all four P-38s went by, and I did a half roll on the last one, and I could have shot him down with no problem at all because I was on the tail of the fourth P-38. And I'm just a first lieutenant. Here's a leading ace of World War II with a first lieutenant in an older plane tacked on the tail of all four P-38s. And they thought the P-38 was so great. And I started talking on the radio. I said, "Aren't you glad I'm on your side? I shoot your whole flight down." He didn't like that, but he didn't want to come down and take me on himself. So he sent one of the P-38s around away from him, and I was following the whole four. And he sent one out after me. And I watched him. I saw him out of the corner of my eye, and he went off to one side and come up on my level from the rear. And just when I got him right where he was fixing to turn onto my tail, I did one of the finest climbing turns you ever saw and put me right on his tail. And of course, as far as I'm concerned, I'm not going to kill an Allied plane. So he did not even try to defend himself because he already had him dead. And I followed him for a few minutes, and so then he sends another one out. I don't know, this guy, the other guy didn't do nothing, but I felt this guy he sent now should have never been in World War II because he come down almost on the same plane, and just as he got to that same position the first one I got to, I did this high-speed climbing turn, and he tried to turn at over 400 miles an hour to turn inside, which would be like a helicopter. And the P-38 can't do that. And he went into a high-speed stall at 6,000 feet, and I leveled off behind him, and I watched it. He went into a spin, high-speed stall, and went into a spin from 6,000 feet. Now, he had plenty of time to get out, but he wasn't getting out. I guess he thought he could pull it out. But I started hollering on the radio, "Bail out, bail out." And he went right into the ocean and killed him. And I didn't plan on that at all. But a Zero would have done the same thing to him. He just was not trained enough to know when his tight turn was too tight. And I didn't make those mistakes. And so they leveled off, and the fight was over then. I went back in and taxied in and parked. And they had an investigation when somebody's killed. And of course, I wasn't invited. I didn't do nothing wrong. We just whipped four P-38s. And the Colonel Bong said, "Only thing I can tell you is don't mess with that guy." And I figured that's the biggest compliment he ever gave anybody else. But I didn't mean to kill anybody.